Could you imagine having $44,000 in debt? How much would that stress you out? And then imagine that you could start a side hustle with your laptop, end up making $2,000 to $3,000 a month and pay off all of your debt completely. Well, for one guy, he didn't have to imagine it because it happened. He actually did it. And the cool thing, he's actually a good buddy of mine. So if you're new to the channel, you probably don't know how much I love blogging, but I love blogging. Ever since starting my blog, goodfinancialsense.com, that thing has changed my life. And today I have Robert Farrington, who, once he gets a chance to share his story, you'll see why I have him on the channel, because he has a pretty crazy story to share. I've already shared some of the numbers: $44,000 of debt, making $2,000 to $3,000 a month from a side hustle that he started on the side while he was still working full time. Once you get a chance to hear his story, it makes you appreciate the hustle, the grind, and also makes you realize that if you are truly passionate about something, if you are truly passionate about helping others, you can get paid pretty well to do it. So without further ado, let's meet Robert Farrington from thecollegeinvestor.com. All right, so I got my good buddy living the dream out in California, enjoying the sun, Mr. Robert Farrington, aka the College Investor, aka is it the Millennial Debt Expert? I forgot. You got like some catchy titles. So go ahead and correct me real quick.
Hey, no worries. Thanks for having me. America's Millennial Money Expert is the third one you're missing there.
Yes, that is right. I wanted to bring Robert on because we have been, I guess we're kind of like friendly competition in the sense that we're all competing, for the same keywords in Google. But the one thing I've always loved about the personal finance blogging community is that we might be competing for the same stuff, but like we're all allies, like trying to help each other and sharing like what we discover and what works and what doesn't work. That's one thing I've just always loved. And Robert has never been afraid to share what he's been working on. So that's why I want to bring Robert on the show. Robert, for those that don't know anything about you yet, tell us about your site. Also tell us about your family as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I started the College Investor 11 years ago now at this point in time. Crazy, right? 2009. So it's been a long time online, helping people try to get a student loan debt, start investing and building wealth, which has really been my passion, especially on that student loan debt piece for a long time, because it's confusing, hard to navigate, and it just keeps changing, and different options and plans and programs and tools and services. So that's what I talk a lot about on the College Investor. And yeah, as you said, I'm married. I have 2 young children, and yeah, I've been doing this full time now for 3 years. It was my side hustle for the first 8 years or so of doing this, and it continued to grow. And fast forward, here we are today.
So let's go back. We're gonna go back in time, hopping in DeLorean, back to the future. That didn't really make sense. Back to the past. 11 years ago, what made you want to start the College Investor? And was that the first idea that you had?
Yeah, so I started the College Investor when I was finishing grad school, finishing college. I was that kid in class on my laptop, and I was always reading like personal finance sites and following Yahoo Finance and looking at stocks. And I was very passionate about that stuff. And I was seeing other personal finance blogs, and I was also seeing other blogs on how to make money online. And I'll tell you what, I fell for one of those, like, you can start a blog to blog posts 100%, which is why the College Investor starts today. The one's like, I was reading these sites and I saw one like, you can do this too. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this too. And open up a Bluehost account and got a domain name. And I was like, I'm going to talk about investing and, picking stocks and stuff. And who knows why, like, someone would want to listen to that. This was like 10 years before Wall Street Bets, when like college kids were talking about stock trading. Like, no one was doing that. And so that's what I did. I started this site, and it literally was me sharing my ideas about what to invest in, how to invest, where I was investing, things like that.
Now, in the beginning, did you tell a lot of people, family, friends, that you started a blog and you were writing about investing in personal finance?
Nope. I tried to not tell anyone. I was very embarrassed by it too at the same time. Like, I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been trying to do new ideas, but I like to share them when they've actually had some success. don't like to share when you start them, right? Like a little bit of embarrassment there because, what are people going to think? And, now I don't care as much, but still, it's hard. It's hard to share those things with people. So I think I shared it with my wife. Back then it was my girlfriend, and, it's just, kind of grew from there.
So you graduated grad school and now you start your career and you're still doing the blog as the side hustle. So what did you start doing after you graduated grad school?
Yeah, so I worked as an assistant store manager for Target at that point in time. So I actually worked Target through high school and college, and I just stayed with it. And Target actually paid some of my grad school. I still graduated with $43,000 in student loan debt.
Yeah.
Right? But they paid for some of it. They helped out. And I worked full time while doing my undergraduate, my graduate degree. And then once I graduated, I was an assistant store manager. And after a couple of years, I became a full store manager at Target. And so I was doing that whole thing and doing this on the side at nights and weekends and where it fit into my schedule.
Now, like oftentimes, like I share people with my story, started the blog, was writing 3 to 4 times a week, also researching, how to blog, SEO, all that fun stuff. And it was at least 9 months, maybe a little bit longer before I finally made any money from my site. And that is my Google AdSense check, which I've got a picture back on my wall over here, for $152. So I calculated that my hourly rate for that time was about 16 cents per hour that I was making. And this is what I call the BMW stage, the below minimum wage. How long did it take? Because you don't say fell for, but you were enticed by this article that you read about how you can start a blog, make some money. You can do it too. When did you finally start to see a little bit of revenue start coming in?
Yeah, I mean, you did it faster than I did. So it took me about, 15, 16 months. So it took me till January of 2011 before I made my first dollar online. And same thing, I had no idea what I was doing, right? So this was a hobby. I read the article on how to start a blog, but I didn't get to well, then how do you monetize a blog or anything else, right? So I started writing content, putting it out into the world, and that was all I did. And it wasn't really gaining a ton of traction. I get a few visitors, 14, probably half of those are bots and, fake stuff anyways. Maybe some family or friends that might have seen it in a social feed, but it really wasn't gaining a lot of traction. And I really had 2 early turning points that started helping me figure out how to make money and figure out how to get some traffic as well. And one of the first ones was connecting with other bloggers and people online. And so this is going to take us back a long time, but the Casey Network, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was a community of personal finance bloggers that literally had a forum, and people were just asking questions and helping share other people's content. And I learned a lot from that. People were sharing what was working, what wasn't working, trying new things, getting tips and tricks, and people were posting questions for help and getting replies. And so networking online with other people was huge for me. I started learning all this stuff that I probably should have been doing for the last year, and I wasn't doing it yet. And then once I started learning some of these basics, I started writing more that mattered for my audience, not necessarily for myself. And I tried to be more helpful and answer questions. So I had my own topics that I cared about. And one of the early ones that went viral was about my battle with my loan servicer and my student loan debt. But part 2 of that was I really framed it in how you can take what I learned and apply it to your own situation. And so it was a very mindset shift of stock tip and this is what I'm doing 100%, and I don't really care what the audience does, to how do I help my audience and bring them to something to be helpful. So those 2 things kind of propelled me. And then yes, I made $25.71 the first month I made money. And it was $4.70 on Amazon, and the rest of it was Google AdSense.
So, I mean, I'm assuming you're working 40 plus hours a week, working at Target. Do you have any kids at this point? I mean,
no kids at this point in time. Yeah, that's important too. No kids at this point in time. Kids make it more challenging.
So 15, 16 months, I'm assuming spending a decent amount of time, trying to grow this thing, write articles, do research.
is your wife, fiance, like asking you, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the point? Like, what kept you from not just throwing in the towel and saying, oh, you know what, I need to go do something else?
Well, two things. One, I am a nerdier guy. I enjoy doing things online, on the internet. Like, this is my hobby. I really like this stuff. And I just remember those early days where I would be on my laptop sitting on the couch and my wife would be watching Real Housewives of some county or some place. And I'd just be sitting next to her. And so she'd be watching her show and I'd be doing my blogging online, and we'd still be together, but kind of doing the things that she wanted to do. I didn't want to really watch some Real Housewives show. And, I was doing my thing and we're just sitting next to each other. And I do remember I told her I made $25 and she's like, okay. And that was it. Like, like there was no like anything else to it. It was just like, okay.
That's funny. Oh, I know, like, did you have your Google ads? I guess no. Well, you didn't get I guess you didn't get a payout then, right? I mean, because I think
no, you had to make it to $100. Yeah, yes. I didn't get a payout for a while.
Yes. So when you finally got a payout, did you have a direct deposit or did they send you a check?
No, I had a direct deposit. I wish I still had a check. That's awesome that you still have a check on the wall.
I took a picture of it, but like for the first, I don't know how many months, like I was still getting the check, and I didn't want to deposit it because I'm like, I got a check from Google. Like, this is awesome.
Right.
And you probably remember, I can't remember the blogger's name, but it's a pretty famous picture. He was bald and he's like holding the Google AdSense check. That's like $100,000. I can't think of the guy's name, but I just remember like I wanted to mimic that, but I was missing a few commas, a few zeros, on my check. So you made $25. I'm sure like for you, like that was awesome. Like, wow, finally I'm making a little bit of money. How long from that point on did you reach a point where you're making something big enough where you're like, hey, like this is something, like this is actually making a difference?
Yeah, it took about a year past that point where we were making a couple $1,000 a month, $2,000 to $3,000 a month. But at that early stage in our lives, like that was a huge difference. And I really attribute that side hustle income to achieving our financial goals super early. So between my working full time and my wife working and the side hustle of blogging, I was able to pay off my student loans in 2.5 years, pay off our car loan, and like get pretty much debt free except for our mortgage within a couple years after graduating. Wow. And that's the power of adding $2,000 to $3,000 a month to, while we're working full time as well. And I think I was making, I want to say like $48,000 or $50,000 a year at that point in time. And my wife was probably making the same thing. Plus this money really helped us, supercharge our financial goals.
So now when you're making, $2,000 to $3,000 a month, I'm sure this is when now we kind of crossed over, like, this isn't just a hobby anymore. And this is even really like a side hustle. Like, there is a real business here. At any point, did you start getting the itch like, man, I could do this full time? Or walk us through that stage.
Well, yeah, if you went through that period of like 3 or 4 years, it was 100% a side hustle. I had no aspirations there. It was like, how can we leverage this to just achieve our other financial goals? Because I'll tell you, in that period of time from 2013 to 2015, 2016, it kind of plateaued in that like $3,000 to $3,000, $4,000 a month range, which is though I was super happy. Like that's amazing supplemental income to be able to achieve our goals. We started paying off our mortgage. We ended up selling that house and buying another house, but working off eliminating all of our debt, maxing out our retirement accounts, really saving and doing things that we wanted to do. And so I was just super happy because I was also getting a really great groove. I was working full time and doing well there, got promoted, making a lot more money. And this business was almost like on autopilot. Like I had it set up where I wasn't putting in as much time. It was still making just as much money. And it was going really well during that period of time for sure.
So what happened? What was the event where, like you said, you hit a lull? Obviously you're grateful. That's a lot of money to make on autopilot. So then we reach a stage where something happens and now we start growing it more. Like what happened? What was that triggering event?
Yeah, I will say it goes back to networking again. So at about 20, I forget what FinCon I went to, but I went to FinCon. I went to the Financial Blogger Conference, and I transitioned more from meeting people online, and I started meeting people in person and building some real world connections with others and learning as well, like learning from some of the smartest people in our industry and connecting with them and connecting with others. And that really helped propel me to like the next level, I would say. And it wasn't like one single thing, but it's like I learned a lot. I networked, I connected, I started helping and doing things a little differently. And those little different steps in terms of maybe improving my monetization a little bit, improving my content a little bit, improving all these incremental improvements really started snowballing. And for the next few years after that, we really started seeing great growth, to the point where by, I want to say, let's see here, I can tell you by 2016, it was making much more than my day job. So, that was huge for me, but I still viewed it as a side hustle. Like it was kind of like, I'm making more than my day job. This is amazing. So like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Office Space.
Yes.
And so like they're going to lay everybody off, and he really starts like not caring. And then the consultants, the Bobs, were like, dude, this guy's amazing. We should promote him. And that's how it was. Like I made so much outside of my day job that I really just like enjoyed my day job. I went there. I didn't really care as much. But then it really created a cool culture in my store. I was a store manager. So everyone was so relaxed. But then the results like significantly improved. And so like I cared less, I worked less, results got better. And then like, I just was like, why am I going to leave this too? Like, this is great as well.
It's funny because I remember the same thing with my financial planning practice. So I had that, the blog, was making that 2,000-3,000. And then all of a sudden, now it's making half of what I was making. And then all of a sudden it's making what I am making. And then it's making twice what I'm making from a business that I started right out of college. And I have this online thing is making twice as much, but yet it was still hard for me to walk away. Cause like you said, like it was an easy thing. Like I actually moved away from it. Like, I moved here to Nashville. I'm 3 hours away from my office. I hired a guy to basically take care of my clients, and I've got to check in like once a week just to do some admin stuff. But I mean, it was pretty much on autopilot. What happened, or what finally got you to the point where you were ready to let go and admit that this thing isn't a side hustle anymore? Like this is the main hustle.
Yeah. I mean, I probably did it for about another year and a half or so. And at this point in time, now I have kids, and my oldest son is getting to like, I want to say he was like about 4, but he's starting to do things that like soccer on the weekends and other activities. And so the one downside with retail, I really liked working at Target, great company to work for. I like the people, but the downside to retail is you have to work weekends, holidays, and Christmas time, and usually at least a night or two a week, right? Well, that's really negatively impactful to your family life. It didn't really matter when my kid was a baby, like other things, but like, once they started getting older, like I kind of wanted to be there for them and do more things with my family. And so it was really starting to create some friction. And I had this realization, and I attribute this quote to Paula Pant. She's another amazing personal finance person. But she always says, show me your money and show me your time, and I'll show you what you value. And so you could say a bunch with our money, like we're doing great, but like my time, like why, if I say I value time with my family, but then I'm going to this job on the weekend and not going to my son's soccer practice, like, is it really that I value my family? Because you're not spending your time that way, and you really actually don't even have to. And I came to the realization, a lot of conversations, some of them were pretty tough, that was like, you don't even need to do this anymore. You're doing it because you're comfortable. And it's like, you're right. Like I've done this for like 15 years. It's really easy. And I don't really know anything different. And I was like a little scared to leave. You talk about these random things like what are you going to do for healthcare? Like in hindsight, they're like super easy. Like you just go buy healthcare, right? But like at the time you look for any excuse, right? Like to not necessarily pull the trigger. And finally it was like, we're just going to do it. Like we're financially set. I even had conversations with my wife about like, what if the internet shuts off tomorrow? Like, what if like there's literally, it goes to zero? Like, would we be okay? And thankfully we were very diligent. Like for these 2 years, like we were making more than my day job. We were saving a ton of money. Like we'd be okay for a long, long time if anything were to happen. So it was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I set a goal of, I'm not going to do another holiday season. I'm going to try to leave Target by September, give them enough time to, you know, sort everything out before the holidays. And I even gave about a 3-month notice before I left, tried to ensure the transition was very good, but finally pulled the trigger and left. And it was a little scary, but was able to do it.
So at this point, I don't know how much influence family, you know, friends had. You know, you've been working at Target for, like you said, 8 years. You know,
I worked for Target like 15
years. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So you've been there for a long time, and everybody kind of knows you as the guy at Target. And now you're like, well, I'm actually going to leave that. I'm going to leave my job, my salary, my benefits, and I'm going to do this internet thing full time.
Yep.
Do you have any interesting conversations about that?
So I will say, I never lied about anything I did outside of Target, but I never was openly sharing like, hey, I'm blogging and doing all this stuff. When I was at work, we're doing work stuff. And, you know, every now and then conversations would come up, or, you know, it was really funny. People would find me, especially like my employees. They'd be like, I was Googling something on student loan debt and your article came up with your picture right there. I'd be like, yep, I do that on the side. And most people had no idea. And I'll tell you, my boss really had no idea. And so like when I told her this, I mean, like, I will say, like, not trying to toot my own home, but I was probably her top performer in our area. She paid me very well, gave me a ton of long-term incentive plans that I walked away from. So like not vested stock options, things like that. And like, she just looked at me like, what are, like, I don't understand. And like, she texted me multiple times throughout the day. Like, I'm still in shock. Like, I don't understand, like all the way through. And it was like, really could not connect the dots that like there's a bigger opportunity outside of it. And no, everyone was super respectful. No one was mean about it or anything, but like, it was more of, you're kind of crazy. After my last day, my peers, all the other store managers in our area, we went out for drinks and they were all like, I wish you the best of luck. I hope this is really successful for you. Like, once again, like, not realizing this had been a planned thing for a long time, and, you know, everything was good, but it was very funny and kind of awkward at the same time.
It's fun. That's such a great story. And I love so much I mean, I guess it makes sense that you have a blog about personal finance because, you know, yes, I heard you taking certain risks, but you also had, I mean, you went through all the options, you know, the internet breaking, for example. Right. You know, like you just did it very smart. And like, same thing with us is like, man, like, yeah, I could have walked away much earlier, but, you know, you just want to make sure you want to put your toe, dip your toe in the water and just make sure everything is there and it makes sense, and that you've kind of planned for as much as you can plan for before you do anything too crazy. And I guess also having kids also is a big factor. You know, when you got a family that you're trying to support, which is good, you know, makes you slow down a little bit, make sure that you've thought everything through, all the crazy thoughts as well. Was there any big shifts with how you worked, what you worked on, the growth of the business once you were able to walk away from Target full time? Yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you two things. One, it is such a weird transition. Like, you know, I heard this from some mentors and some people that I talked to a lot, some of my mastermind group, and they're like, you know, it's going to take you 6 months to a year to like adapt. And like, I knew this going into it, but like, until you live it, like, you don't really understand it, because like your mind and body and like your structure and everything just gets upended. And like, you're so used to this routine. And I've been doing it, like I said, 15 years or so. And like, that's what I'd known. And like, it just is such a weird phase. I'll say in my business, though, business just took off. But like we struggled a while as myself personally, the family, like how to find that balance of how much should I work? What should my schedule look like? How does that work with the kids? Like, I thought you left Target so that we could have more time together, but you're just on the computer all the time. Like things like that, right? And it's very challenging because there's no structure anymore. There's no like, you need to be here at this time, and like it's all set by you and you control it all. And there's good to that, but there's a lot of challenge to that as well that takes time to figure out and navigate. And even today, like it's still like it ebbs and flows, and you got to find this balance as things change and evolve.
Yeah, that is so true, especially right now. For those that don't know, like Robert right now, I think both your kids are home right now, like trying to homeschool right now.
Yeah. So, we're recording this in the pandemic, right? And, so kids are virtually learning, and it's a challenge, and you never know like what the future is going to hold. And so it's interesting.
So for anybody that is reading or about to read a similar article that says that you can start a blog too and be like Robert Farrington, what would you say has changed from then as opposed to now if somebody is trying to do it? Not in the personal finance space, you can just be somewhat generic, but what would they need to do to really stand out?
Any space, and the same rules apply. Like you can do this today, like don't be fooled. And you can do this today. It could be a blog, it could be a YouTube channel, it could be Instagram, TikTok. It all comes down to quality content that helps people, and you have to do it consistently over time. And I think it's that last part that a lot of people fizzle out on, right? First off, when you start anything, you might think it's the greatest content, but it's not. Like you suck at it. Like it's just a fact. Like even if you are an amazing like professional writer, I guarantee you your first blog post or anything you do online is not going to be the greatest because you have not practiced enough. You have not done the work enough. And no one knows you to give you even that feedback yet, potentially, to improve. And feedback can come in many forms, whether it's no engagement, like no one's reading it, or like comments or other things, social media responses. So then it goes to consistency over time, right? So the more you do it, the better you will get because now you're putting in the work and the practice, but then you're also giving your content and your ability to get shared and found because like you're just throwing more stuff out there. People will find it, and then they might see your past stuff too, and it builds on yourself. So like you can totally start it today, but if you're not going to put in the time and the consistency, and I'm talking like consistency of like 3 to 5 times a week of whatever it is, whatever medium you're going to do for like a year or longer, because you got to do the work and you got to put in the stuff for you to be successful. I don't know. You're smirking over there.
No, I'm just thinking these are some inspiring words from Robert Farrington, America's millennial money expert. No, I totally agree. Robert, I appreciate the wisdom that you have shared. It is fun to see your journey. For those that don't know, like you started your blog about a year after I did. So it's been fun to grow together and to be where we're at today and to see all these young pups come along that are, some of them are crushing it or some are still trying to figure it out. And I love parts of your story where, 16 months before you made $24, $25, and then even another year after that before you finally started to see anything significant. I mean, you created something that you wanted to help people. Like initially it was investing and all that stuff, but whenever that student loan article took off and you recognize like, this is how I can actually help people out. Like when you saw that, I mean, you basically created something that was bigger than you, a mission that was bigger than you. And I assume, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I assume that's why you're here today, still doing it.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I love doing. Like, it's so rewarding to help people navigate these things, get out of student loan debt, start investing, building wealth. I think the challenge for anyone that's a content creator is that you don't necessarily get to see your readers' journeys. You don't always get to see the outcomes. You're just hoping that, you might have a positive impact on a few people. But it is extremely rewarding. And you probably experienced this, but like, every now and then I'll get a reader response and it'd be like, I took your course, or I did your email list from like 5 years ago, and I actually paid off all my student loans following it. And I feel like amazing about it. And so I get those now. People have done the work. And that's the hard thing. When you're getting out of debt, it's not like a wave the magic wand and like all of a sudden you're debt free. Like these are people's journeys. It takes time. And so it's very rewarding, and it keeps you motivated when you hear those success stories from people.
So true. I always make sure when I get those to star them, put them in a folder. Sometimes I'll take screenshots and put it in my Google Drive or Dropbox, just so I can have this running folder of like, these are the people that I've impacted, you know, and I know there are more, but these are the ones that felt compelled enough to reach out and contact me. So yeah, I totally can relate. For those that want to connect with you more, tell us where they can find out about the College Investor and Robert Farrington.
Yeah, so you can go to thecollegeinvestor.com. You can listen to our podcast, your favorite podcasting platform, the College Investor Audio Show. And if you're a YouTuber, we have our College Investor YouTube channel as well.
Yes, sir. Awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your wisdom and experience.
Thanks.